Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and I thought I'd give a fairly short and small update about the Necromancer Scourge Spectral Throw build I've been playing for the past few days. There's not too much to say just yet. The progression of the character hasn't been immensely fast. Since I've had to do other things, and six linking as shavs, which was the main source of my progression, has not really happened until the end of today's stream. It took me roughly 3,000 fusings to six link this shavs, something like 15 exalts worth of fusings, so I'm going awfully bankrupt just trying to do that. That said, on a 5 link, this build performs pretty well on everything up until the Guardians and Shaper. At this stage, I've managed to take care of all tier 15s. I have managed to kill the Guardians, but they weren't terribly easy, and I'll show that probably next video when I make some conclusions. And I also did have a go at Shaper, but that was not terribly good either. 5 link DPS on this build just probably is not sufficient enough to call it viable for Shaper or Guardians. So if you're looking for that on a 5 link with a Shavs, you probably should not be playing this build, because it's just not really good enough to take care of that content, especially since some of those monsters are just poison immune, chaos resistant, and it becomes a real clusterfuck. Here I'm showcasing some of the hardest maps I've ever run, which were Shaped Crypts, tier 14, with all kinds of terrible Atlas mods, which you'll see in just a minute. I've also been trying to beyond these maps so they'd be even more exciting, and even maps like this you can very much handle with the build on a 5 link. So besides the 5 link, there's nothing else too special going on here, but the 6 link and the 4 off colors for the 6 link are going to be hard to achieve, and I'll let you know by next video whether or not it's worth doing. Because for me, the 6 link in this build is absolutely huge on a damage gain. It'd either be Void Manipulation, Point Blank, something like that, and that has potential to be a really big DPS increase. And if it makes Shaper and Guardians smooth, then I'll definitely relay that information onto you and let you know if the build's worth playing. But at this stage, on a 5 link, getting ES gear and speccing into Scourge for a Necro just doesn't seem worth it compared to, let's just say, playing Dreamfeather. So if you're looking for a build like this, I would recommend Dreamfeather at this stage, or maybe building into an Assassin version with CI, which I have yet to do, so I can't give you too much guidance in that sense. But it's probably not going to involve Scourge if you're going for an Assassin, because you're not really getting too much out of that minion damage. You're probably better off with just like a strong dagger, being an Assassin, and hitting hard. You know, the usual stuff. Here we see, I think right about now, a real good showcasing of Vilepact and Leech. As you can see, yeah, it's kind of strong, and something like Dreamfeather might not have survived there, just because it's taking way too much damage and cannot out-leech. So Vilepact with some good leech, yeah, really does kind of cheese a lot of the game currently, as we all know. But I digress. The build, yeah. As far as a Necro goes, it's just kind of uncomfortable to play in the endgame sense as well. I've always avoided making a Necro because it's really not my cup of tea. The perks of it, and also the whole minion sort of stuff, has not been what excites me, and this kind of confirms it after playing it. Keeping up your spirit offering, or flesh offering, whichever one you choose to go for, is really quite annoying, and becomes kind of hard to do in the end game boss fights, the ones that I've so far tried, like Shaper and the Guardians, because at that stage you're trying to keep up a Ice Golem, which is rather important for accuracy and crit. You're trying to keep up with a totem and the offerings at the same time as doing some DPS, charging around and trying to survive, and it just becomes too much. So I have not been a fan of that against boss fights, as opposed to something like Dreamfeather, which just drops a Wither totem, and that's it. That's the only setup you need for DPS. Flask sustain is a lot easier. In any case, I'll hopefully have some more conclusions about this when I play around with the 6 link in the next day or two, and who knows, maybe the DPS is good enough to call it extremely viable for Shaper and Uber. At this stage, I would not recommend building this if you've been trying to follow this or thinking about it yourself. Maybe when I get a 6-link things will change, but this is what the Shaper attempt looked like on a 5-link and the way I tried to build the character, and there just wasn't really enough DPS to have a smooth sort of run. It was kind of slow, I had to do a lot of kiting, and the ads themselves were a real nightmare, as they just kept stacking up, and I could not really take care of them too well without a reliable source of shock like Vinctars. But I did not want to put Vinctars into this build just for the sake of ad clearing on Shaper, because for everything else you don't really need Vinctars. That's the one thing this build has over Dreamfeather, in that trash clear in the higher tier maps is a lot better, since you're crit based, and on a 5-link I feel like I'm doing better trash DPS than Dreamfeather did on pretty much a 6-link, so keep that in mind. In any case, thanks for watching today. I'll hopefully have another update about this one in the next day or two, with some harder boss fights and some 6-link conclusions. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.